Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Money Talks with Ayanna Smith. Listen, have you ever wanted to really sit down and plan and understand how it works to get your funeral, get all your final expenses and funeral situations together? It's no need to be afraid of it because we have an awesome person who is a woo, funeral services director, CEO, owner in the industry for many years, who is really like a family friend. And you need to make sure that a mortician is your family friend because that is a person that needs to be a part of your team. So we will be right back in just a few moments to get started with our special guest. Hold on. And we are back and excited and so glad that you are joined in. Please make sure that you like, share, comment, send this out, call everybody on because we are talking about something that is really going to be very important, something that is very important, has been important, and we need to have those conversations. It's like I always say on our show, money is always talking, even if we aren't talking about it, but it's such a deeply rooted thing. It's such a thing that we have so many aspects when we talk about our health and our money and passing away. Sometimes we don't want to talk about those things, but you know what? Even if we don't talk about it, it's going to happen. It's still happening. So without further ado, we're going to bring up a special guest. This young lady is not a stranger to me, but I introduce to you Miss Keisha Manson, and she is hailing from North Carolina and Manson Funeral Home, Mortuary, and Cremation Services, and all that. And she's going to come to us and just give us a backdrop on how to plan, prepare, and then, of course, without a shameless plug, insert how life insurance makes the difference of not having it and having it when it comes to planning your funeral and moving forward to making sure that your loved ones aren't grieving more than one time. So without further ado, we're bringing Miss Keisha out of the virtual green room. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Well, thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure being able to educate people. That's what I love to do. Not only am I a former educator with the public school system, but I do love educating my families when they're making arrangements and, just educating them on the funeral process.
And that's absolutely true. Now, I will say on a personal note, Keisha has serviced my family with family members through the years, and she is exactly right about making sure that everybody is at ease. educated, understands what's going on, and it makes it better when you are trying to navigate through that tough time, and it helps you to know that you can be cared for by the person who's sitting in front of you who has to care for your family member at that final wish. So, Keisha, it's so great to have you. So, just give a little backdrop on. You said you were an educator, absolutely, because I know your parents were educators, like my parents are educators. We've both been in education, but still educate. I educate on the insurance side. You educate with that as well, but on the mortuary science side. And it's just been a blessing to know you through the years. And so just share how important it is to, and come in your own way and just share with us the nuggets that you usually put out to help people be at ease when planning for final expenses.
Okay, well, first of all, I just like to say that it is so important to give your affairs in order. Um, Having your personal business in line with what you want. Because we don't like to talk about death and not being here, but it is so important. And a lot of people, what they do that's very helpful is to come in and do a pre-need um, where funds are set aside for your funeral. You can use cash, trust to finance your funeral, or use an insurance policy. And I would like to say now, at this point, $5,000 will not bury anyone with a traditional funeral service. And there are other options. A lot of people are opting for cremation, and believe it or not, those costs are increasing too. So it is so important, to get your affairs in order and have some type of means of taking care of you once you go away, once you pass away.
Let me ask you this: what is the average cost? And I know you're in North Carolina, and of course, but you still keep up with the trends of the industry of your industry. What is the average cost for funerals? Last time I was checking, it was about $12,000 average. But what is it now?
Well, it's depending on your area. 12 is pretty reasonable. 12 on up. Um, Probably where you are, but it just depends on the area.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the larger cities, the larger cost of living, the more it's going to cost.
Correct.
I'm in a small area here in North Carolina, and I wouldn't say 12 is the average, but it's getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Being in the eastern part of North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
so the
Absolutely.
average cost, I would say anywhere from 10 to 15.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So like you said, a $5,000 policy is is not really going to really make that dent because yeah, caskets, opening closings of different things like that of the grounds can add up to that part right there, and then you have the rest to come up with. And I would say in a rule of thumb, um most of our morticians, mortuary science people are not going to move on taking the body in until some money is paid, correct?
Well, I won't say paid, but maybe secured.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, 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 secured. Yes, 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 yes. We
yeah,
know that something
yeah,
is on the way. We have a policy or something that we'll know will convey at appropriate time that you can secure those funds. Exactly. That's a great
yeah,
word to say.
yes, yes. And I also like to add, if you're gonna use cash to pay for a funeral, make sure that one of your loved ones is on that account with you, where the money is supposed to come from. Because once you pass away, unless you're joint on account with someone, a checking account, the funds are frozen.
Yes, absolutely.
So you need to make sure, if you plan to pay for a funeral with cash, that someone is on your account who can access those funds.
That is so true. So let me ask you this. So someone usually on, speaking of which, the cash portion and checking account, you do need someone on it, but does it work if there's death beneficiary on that account? Would that work, or still the funds have to be frozen and then released after a certain point of time? Does that work if there's a paid on death?
Yes. Yes.
So that'll work as
Hmm.
well, whoever the
Yes.
beneficiary is. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And sometimes people
Yeah.
don't know that to add that onto their checking account. Some companies will banks will ask you, do you have a beneficiary? Some may not. But that's something to most definitely remember and think about.
Yes, and if can take this back a little bit further,
Mhm.
people need to make sure you get your personal life in order. As far as if you're married, and you and your spouse are living apart,
Mm.
if you pass away, that spouse has the legal right to disposition.
And
Even if
explain
you're
that.
separate, yes, even if you're separated, unless you are divorced. If
Mhm.
you're still married, that spouse has the legal right to disposition.
Okay, and when you say disposition, they have the right to make the arrangements and talk about
Yes,
what's going to happen and all of that.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it really sometimes it really causes a lot of families to be at odds, because yeah, they were married, but they were living apart and legally still married.
Right.
So, if you're not with your spouse, handle your business.
Mhm. Mhm. And I've seen
Yeah.
that, and it does pose a big problem in that manner because sometimes, like you said, people living apart, they really kind of moved on with their lives, but they didn't move on legally.
Correct. Correct.
And those and I know without getting into it, you have some good stories and some horror stories on trying to be the mediator, the counselor, the the,
Yes, the
the police,
peacemaker.
the police. Right, the peacemaker. We want you peacemaker. What's one of the greatest scenarios I would say you've experienced when people had their things in order and it flowed? I think back to when my grandmother passed. I was like, oh my God, it couldn't have been any more smoother. But what she had her stuff together. But what is something that you remember?
um, well, you said the greatest
I guess you say the
story.
one that was like had the most ease, so she can give a scenario and a picture on how
Um,
it should look when you're already grieving, yes, but when people have their affairs in order, how much easier it is to go in to you and proceed.
yes, especially if you come in and do a pre-need.
Hmm.
If you come in and do a pre-need, we can jot down your casket selection, your outer barrier container selection, and everything that you want. And you come up with the bottom line figure. And then that way you know what you want, and then at that point you make financial means as to what you want. Ideally, you come in, do a pre-need, you choose everything, and go on and start writing your obituary, and let someone know where it is.
Hmm.
You can write your obituary and um, tell your family, what you want them to do. I wouldn't put those things in a will, because most of the time a will isn't read until you are already buried. But the things that you want at your funeral, let your family know. They may not stick with it. They always have that choice to change, from what you've told them. But just let your family know what your wishes are, and hopefully you make the means for it to happen.
Hmm.
That is so important. I mean, if you want a horse and carriage, well, make sure that you have funds set aside to take care of that horse and carriage.
Right. Right. You want the doves, you want limos, all those things are what you need to think about. So basically, it is a send off. It is so you can have what you want, have some say in it because we have no say once we're gone.
Right,
But
right.
like you said, but then you can help to plan out bottom line figures. I know people talk about things locking in. Can you lock in any prices, or just kind of you got to ballpark it? How does that normally
Well,
work?
you can do inflation proof pre-need. Um, the ones that I do, I don't lock prices in because of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it does help. to have those funds set aside. Um, and you just kind of, at least they're there. It's better than having nothing.
Right. Right.
Having something is better than having nothing.
Right. And I know you said that when you can lock in well, do pre-need, so it's like a separate fund in addition to your insurance policies, or how does that work?
Well, you can use your insurance policy, and you can make the funeral home the beneficiary of the policy,
Okay.
or you can use cash, and that money goes into an interest-bearing account. And we're audited. Well, in North Carolina, we're
Mm-hmm.
audited on our pre-need accounts every year,
Mm-hmm.
and so no money is misappropriated. And funeral homes have gotten in trouble for spending that pre-need money,
Mm-hmm.
but you know. Having the pre-need, and sharing with your family members what your wishes are, and having your program and everything already put together, your pictures together. Getting back to your question, that is ideal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ideal scenario.
Right. So how do you help as the let me give me your professional name, because I know you're a funeral director, but what is the professional name for, because you want to honor the profession though.
Right. I'm a funeral director. Some people do fall under funeral service, and they do embalming and directing.
Mm-hmm.
Funeral directors here in North Carolina, we just direct the funerals. Um, you deal with the families. You deal with everything else except for the embalming part.
Okay. Okay. Got you.
So I am a licensed North Carolina funeral director.
And it is a licensed industry, so it has regulations and all of that
Yes.
with it. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very regulated. You have to get professional development, stay up on your craft so that you can provide the best service possible in the time of need, and do right by everybody. I mean, handle things the best way
Correct.
as possible. And you've been in business, your family's business is very, say, I say it's a legacy. You've been licensed since what, 2000?
Yes, and my parents started the business in 1964.
That
So
is,
it's actually older than I am, and I grew up in the business.
yes, yes, yes. That's all with with the funeral services and education. We
Yes, yes.
Gosh, yes. So with that, you just took it on and said, "Well, hey, this is just my next transition." Or did you ever think about doing anything else? It was just really, here is the family business, and I'm going to run with it.
Well, as I was talking about this earlier, I had not planned to do this. Wasn't quite sure where I was going to use my degree from Hampton University. I got to put that in there
Yes, yes,
since
yes,
you're in Virginia.
yes.
But I just ended up coming back home after living away for a little while, and everything was already there for me. So my
Mhm.
parents really made it easy for me to make the transition of coming out of the classroom and taking over the business.
That
So
is awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a different side of that you can also speak, of course, with your business, but you can also speak about, family legacy, because people are talking about that now. But your parents were forward thinkers back then. I mean, they did something that was consistent, had something that people, of course, needed. So if you can solve people's problems, you don't have to worry about, money and jobs and stuff, because you have created or into an industry that, of course, everybody is going to need. So they made that staple, which was a great blessing. I see, but not to stay there, because like I mean, I love them dearly. Like I said, I knew them very well. It's growing up and all that good stuff, and they were a staple in the community, as such as you have carried on. But getting back to just thinking about the planning, are there any additional things that people need to think about? What's like a rundown, if you could give a rundown on, if people say, well, what do I need to even go in and kind of look for and ask? Because like I said, I remember some things, but what's a good list, rule of thumb, or what you are going to look at in those line items and what can be included in just the basic, not have to be elaborate funeral, but the basic things that have to be taken care of, say by the state, for example, so everything will be in decent in order.
Um, well, basically, again, when you go in, well, when your loved one passes away, you're going to need to start thinking immediately about when and where you want your service. What kind of service do you want? Do you want cremation? Do you want a traditional service? Those things are helpful to know when you first go in, um, or helpful for the family to know, when you pass away. And again, you can go on and get your program in order. Start thinking about where you want your remains to be buried, or again, cremation. And then there are so many other things that are coming out now, that people are using instead of cremation, using hydrolysis and other things that are really coming to pass.
Hmm.
They're not popular right now in our community, but it's coming.
Okay. Wow.
So when your loved ones go, just ask to be educated when they go into the funeral home, having information on the caskets, having information on your outer burial container. These things are important because they help determine the price of what you're going to be charged, the price of what you're going to pick out. So ask to know, be educated on caskets and the metals and the thickness, and the outer burial container. Is it going to be a cement liner or cement vault, and what those things entail? And again, the funeral director, they're going to go over these things with you, and going over your program, and having that prepared, and having pictures. You're going to have your loved one's clothing ready, and coordinating the colors with your casket and the clothing. So, those things are just the basic things that you're going to go over once you go in to make arrangements with that funeral director.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's really, let's say, put some thought into it ahead of time. And then when the time hits, it won't be so devastating. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you could add? Because we covered, basically all the general stuff, but is there anything else that you would like to add to help people, or tell them where to contact you, how to connect with you? Because I have North Carolina listeners. I have everybody listening, really all over, but we have North Carolina listeners. And do you work outside of North Carolina? Or you just contain to North Carolina?
Well, I'm only licensed in North Carolina, but I do have colleagues. So if they want to use my services, I'll be glad to do it. I'll just have to have one of my colleagues from Virginia there with me on the
Mhm.
service. But I mean, I will travel anywhere. My cars run great, and I
Yes,
will
ma'am.
service North Carolina or Virginia. But they're welcome to go to the website, Manson, www.mansonmortuary.com, and they can check out my website and see what things I offer. Um, and what else did you say? Did I want to add anything else?
Yes, did you want to add anything else as people are, I mean, of course, well, I would say this. What is the importance of which we all know? Well, we should know the importance of having life insurance. What in the world? Please.
Yes, yes. Please, people, get some kind of insurance to handle, your last business,
Mhm.
your final affairs. If you want something elaborate, have the means to have it, if that's what you want. Um, and one thing I am finding that the costs aren't going down. With
Right.
inflation, everything is going up. So get some life insurance. 5,000 won't do it. Miss Ayanna, make sure you see her, because I'm sure she can accommodate, whatever you want to do, or
Yeah.
whatever how much you want to put into it. I'm sure she'll find you a means to put your money in that will help you grow your money. So go see Miss Ayanna and let her take care of your financial end of things, and um, let her help you um, find a good place to invest.
Right. And have something so we can not what we say grieve twice. Grieve because our loved one is gone, and, and grieve because it left us, kind of in dire straits with having to gather up funds to put them away. And most of the time we want to do right by people, but it's like, whoa, give us something to work with. So yes, it's an easier fix to get something on this side of trying to yeah, can't get it out.
Yes, and go right, and GoFundMe accounts are not made to bury people. So,
No.
and it's kind of embarrassing, but I understand. Some families are caught with no money,
Yes.
but GoFundMe, that wasn't made to fund funerals.
Mm-mm. It wasn't. Because you ask for the money, and then even a portion of that is not. Yeah, it's still a portion taken out, and you're still trying to scuffle and get things together while you're crying and feeling
Mm-hmm.
feeling all out of sorts. Can't even think straight. So yeah, just the main thing
Right.
is I often say that and I'm so glad you were able to come on, because I often talk about we should have a team as as we're looking forward. We have a doctor, of course. Most of us do. We have a doctor. I said we may have some type of legal representation or know someone who could help us, but we often also need to start thinking about, of course, life insurance agent, somebody can help you with your money to get something together. But we need to also have a funeral professional, a funeral director, a professional that can help us navigate on that, even in the planning of where we want our money to go to. You heard Ms. Manson say, talk about trust and everything. People are talking about this now more than ever, but we're talking about getting life insurance and how to make money in it. But we need to make sure that while we're doing that, it is still created to ease the pain when your loved one passes away. So I think a part of your team, you should have, someone like someone that can help you with the life insurance, someone who can help you put your loved one in the ground, or you, a banker, your doctor, a tax person, bookkeeper, all of that, especially if you are entrepreneurs, and even if you are not. We want to make sure we have full service. So we're aiming to bring on more guests like yourself, who can help people and educate us on not being scared. It's just time to get out here and put things in place. Yeah.
Yes, and also in your financial planning of things, a lot of churches now, if you're not a member, they charge you to use their church.
Correct.
So that's one thing to keep in mind when you ask me about adding things. That's one thing that a lot of families fail to realize.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're not a regular member, they have regulations and things in place that they charge you to use their facility. Cemeteries, those plots are not cheap.
Mm.
Um, I mean, some of even here in my town, a grave plot is $1,100.
Wow. And you wouldn't even
So
think
right?
that, but your space to secure the final, the final remains. Right. You don't even think about that.
Yes, yes, and um, and like I said, that's just here in this rural area,
Uh-huh.
and those prices are constantly going up. Because I remember when they used to be like $300, and
Wow.
now 1,100. Yes,
Yeah. Steadily
so that's
climbing.
that's yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Definitely keep that in mind. So, like you said, it does pay to have your bank. You got a banker, you got a doctor, on your team. Everybody, a lot of people, I won't say everyone, but you have a dentist. So why not have a funeral professional on your team too? Like you said, to kind of guide you,
Mm-hmm.
because believe it or not, unless you're gonna be here for the rapture, we all gonna pass away.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it does help the family tremendously, because when someone passes away, man, a lot of times you see a whole new person.
Yes.
For the family members, they really fall apart. um And it can get ugly and it's sad, but from the outside looking in, like I said, families really, you see a new person a lot of times when they pass away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
attitudes come out, a whole lot of
Mm.
things come out. So it does
Ooh.
help to have your financial end of things in order and your documentation of your wants and desires for when that time comes for you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, you're giving us a lot to think about. And I know that, you even have more that you probably could talk about. And you do go out and you share. Do you share at churches and make presentations talking about death care and all that?
Yes, yes. I do go out and talk to people, do presentations, and if you'd like me to come to you, I'll have no problem with coming to you because again, education is my thing. I love to educate people, and feel free to reach out to me. www.mansonmortuary.com. You can go there, you can find the funeral home number, and feel free to reach out. If you have any other questions, even after this, feel free to call the funeral home, and I'll be sure to return your call.
Awesome, awesome. And that is what we come. I said we come to motivate and earn, save, grow, invest, repeat. But we're here to educate as well because if we don't know what to do, then we can't do it well. And that's the main thing. So I really thank you for being able to come on and take a few moments of your time to share. And then, of course, everybody knows how to get in touch with you in the Manson Mortuary .com, and you are in the eastern part of North Carolina, but you can service the entire state of North Carolina. You, like you said, you can partner with some of your co-partners in the industry if we need to go to other states, but you can help everybody. And I would say, on a personal note, Miss Manson is very good at what she does, and she will help you and your family navigate through to the next phase and the next steps. So I speak on that on a personal side and know that she stands by what she does. She has a heart for it. If not, I don't think she would be into it as with the longevity that she has been moving in.
And
she
I
was
have the best team in the world. I wouldn't trade them for the world. My team is the A team,
awesome. Oh my
an,
goodness.
an awesome team.
The 18. I love it. I love it. Well, we thank you again for coming on, and we'll be right back. And as we put you in the green room, we appreciate you for stopping by, and we're gonna close out. We'll be right back. Well, this is another episode of Money Talks with Ayanna Smith, and I do hope that you have gained some knowledge. And please make sure that you like, comment, share, and put all of put all of the information to work. Share this out to somebody because everybody needs to know about how to navigate with final expenses. And as we close out, make sure that you subscribe to, and I have some YouTube followers, people viewing on YouTube this evening. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me at the Ayanna Smith. That's TheAyanna on YouTube. And also, please make sure that you follow me on Instagram at @AskAyanna_Financial Pro and Ask for Ayanna on Facebook. And then you're probably viewing from my personal page as well. So we want to make sure that we are listening, growing, and doing what we need to do. And to connect with me, just make sure that, of course, you can go to my website that you actually see on the banner at askayanna.com to make a complimentary consultation so that we can help you get what you need in order and ready for the future. So without anything else, make sure that you share this out, tell a friend, and we will see you on the next broadcast.